Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to create an art journal page and I'm going to step outside my comfort zone and use alcohol inks to create the background of this page. The paper I'm going to use for my background or cardstock, it's 180 GSM cardstock and it's from Office 1 and it's gloss photo paper. This particular packet came from my mum, but I've got a whole drawer full of gloss photo paper that I want to use up, so I thought I'd get started on it. Now as I said, this doesn't look all that glossy to me. It doesn't look as glossy as a normal gloss photo paper, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. So I have to admit that when I poured this blending solution on, I thought, oh, it's not going to work. But I went ahead and tried it anyway, and so I sprinkled that all around, and then I added some, I'm using shimmer alcohol inks. So I started off with my lightest one, which was lime green. Then I used ocean blue, grass and sea breeze. As I said, these are shimmers, so I have to give them a good shake before I start to add them to my page. Now, yes, I'm just going to keep adding these, and I'm going to add more of the blending solution as I need it. Then I'm going to use my air puffer to try and move those inks around. Now, I do use the puffer for a bit of it, and then I decide to use the cardstock itself and tilt that, moving it around. Now, when I start doing that, you'll be able to see that beautiful shimmer to the alcohol inks. The alcohol inks I'm using are Paper Mill. They come from Riot Arts, I think it is. But I'll put a link in the description box below to the things I'm using here if you're interested in checking it out. But you can do the same thing with any alcohol inks that you have already in your stash. So as you can see, moving those inks around now. And I'm going to do this half a page at a time, as I said. I'm going to use exactly the same technique to do the other half. Once I've got this alcohol ink moving around a bit, I'm going to add just a couple of drops of the slate. I also just dabbed in a few splatters of Ranger's Mixative Gold. I didn't spread that around too much. I didn't want it all over the place. I just wanted it to look like splatters. I set that aside to dry. Naturally, I don't like to dry these things with heat guns. I'm a natural dryer with most things. So I cut it down to 8 1/4 by 8 3/4. Then I used my corner rounder to round the edges and each corner and then I used my hole punch to add the 4 holes so that it can be secured into my binder. Okay, time to add some more interest to my background. I'm going to, seeing as I've used shimmer alcohol inks, I'm going to continue with the shimmer theme, and I'm going to use some pearl paints. These are once again paints from my ceramic days, so these are like 30 years old. I'm going to use a turquoise and a blue, one's called golden turquoise, one's sparkling blue, and I'm going to water those down and then use my fan brush to add some splatters to my background. I'm also going to splatter with some black, which is not a pearl, and a white, which is a pearl, called White Frost. To add a little bit more darkness to the background, I'm going to use this Bow Bunny stamp called Geometric Patterns and my Stays On Jet Black ink, and just stamp randomly all over, here and there on the background. So I'm not looking for a complete cover, I just want a bit of black here and there. For my focal point, I'm going to use this die that I purchased from Downunder Scrapbooking. It's a whole heap of octagons or hexagons, I'm not sure which, probably hexagons because it's only got 6 sides. And each one is different, so I cut it in white and I cut it in like a pearlescent gold. and I couldn't decide which one to go with. So I tried them both, and in the end I decided that I liked the white better. It stood out more. The gold blended in and looked nice and subtle, but I wanted, as a focal point, I wanted something that would stand out a little more. Once I'd made that decision, I played around with the placement of my hexagons for a while, and then I went ahead and used my art glitter glue to attach my hexagons to the page. I don't know whether the art glitter glue is going to stay stuck to the alcohol inks or not, but in this case I'm just going to go ahead and do it, try it and see what happens. If it comes off in the future, well, then I'll have to use my matte medium to stick them back on. Now I'm going to use my Stabilo oil pencil in black and my water brush and shade around the edge of each of those hexagons. This will help my hexagons feel and look like they're part of the page. It sort of attaches them, and then it also helps them stand out. So shading is one of the most important things to do, I think, in my opinion, when you're doing an art journal page. I'm sorry that you can't really see the white of the hexagons on here because of all the light and the glimmer from those alcohol inks. It's really quite bright, and when I was videoing this I didn't realise it. I always like to put a border on my art journal pages, and usually I go with just a scribbly border, but today I decided to try something a bit different. I'm using a black fine Sharpie, and I'm drawing two straight, well, reasonably straight, not necessarily ruler straight, lines around each edge of my page. Then I'm going to use my same black texture to colour in squares along or between those two lines. Once I've done that with the black, I'll also do that with a texture, and the colour of the texture is called copper. The copper texture is pretty close to the same colour as the gold alcohol ink that I've used on the background. I wanted to lift the border a little, so I used my fine liner that is filled with watered down acrylic paint in white and ran a little fine border around the inside of the border I had just drawn. I like to include a mixture of fonts in my quote, so I'm using my Kaisercraft DD735 uppercase alpha dies and some black cardstock to cut the word open, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue once again to attach that to the page. Next I typed on the computer and printed out the rest of the quote, which is your mind, so open your mind, and printed that out onto some white paper and trimmed that down and attached that underneath the open, still using the art glitter glue, and then used my fountain pen actually to draw a scribbly border around that white paper. Using my white Posca pen, paint pen, which I am not very keen on, it comes out in blobs, I did some highlighting on the open, and when I did the N, of course, all of the paint blopped out and made a mess, but I did manage to clean it up, and I'm quite happy with it now. So there we have my page for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. I've really enjoyed making this page, and I really love the shimmer that these alcohol inks gave my page. I am not an expert on alcohol inks by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy using them, and I'm going to use them a lot more. So if you're interested in seeing some more alcohol ink layouts, subscribe to my channel and click that bell so you're notified when I upload a next video. And yeah, well, thanks for being here, and if you've enjoyed my video, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already.